Now, we are lucky, and you are all lucky, because there are new technologies to improve governance. People tend to think that governance is corruption, putting corrupt leaders in jail. Well, that's part of it. But we have new tools now to improve governance. And I want to make a small footnote to tell you what those tools look like, just to give you a sense of what it is. For example, do you know that today you can establish what is called standards for any public expenditure that you make? So the government spends money all the time in education, in health, in infrastructure, and we don't know what happens to that money. No, you think that because you build a school or a clinic or a road, you achieve something. Well, we now can move beyond that. The new governance technology allows us to say, for example, a child at the end of second grade should be able to read at least 60 words per minute. At least 60 words per minute. And I invite you all tonight to go home and put your child in front of a book and say, read, and put a watch in your hand, and see whether she or he can read 60 words per minute. Now, when we spend a lot of money in education, and we have these discussions with teacher unions, and they threaten us with the strikes, and we threaten them with fire them, and there is this tension, all that is very good. But the bottom line in the new governance is, are you achieving the 60 words per minute or not? We have now what is called a standard for results. Okay? Now, let me tell you, 60 words per minute, just to scare you, is the threshold below which a child in the United States is sent to special education. Okay? Now, we guess that 2/3 of African children at the end of second grade cannot read at all, let alone 60 words per minute. And I invite you again tonight to do that to your children. Please don't tell your children that this was proposed by the World Bank. I want the next generation to like us. That's one possibility, standards for governance. Another new tool of governance that we think we need to begin to explore is to transfer some of this wealth, natural wealth, directly to the people. You will see an op-ed, meaning a big article, in The Guardian yesterday by my colleague Shanta Barajan and myself, where we are now formally proposing that African countries should think about transferring a portion of the new commodity income directly to each individual. Every Senegalese will get $100 a year. And then people will begin to worry what happens to the other part. If I get 10%, what happens to the other 90%? Moreover, they will have now a reason to pay attention to when the government signs, in any of these African countries, when the government signs a contract for extraction, exploitation, exportation, because that's my money. It doesn't come to my cell phone or my debit card anymore if I don't pay attention and the government doesn't behave. Now corruption is a personal problem for me because some of my money will be disappearing. Now this mechanism of direct transfers we used to use for the poor. Actually, there are 35 countries in Africa that already do this for the poor only, as a social assistance tool. We are beginning to think that as a governance tool, we might want to link commodity wealth to each individual. I could speak for hours about this particular point, the governance objective of the strategy, but to get a sense of what we are trying to do, we are trying to use the new technologies, the new way of thinking, and I will speak about some of that during my book presentation at lunch. But those new tools link them to what the World Bank does. Every time the World Bank does a project, can people very quickly see the benefit? So that was the second third of my presentation, the three objectives. Let me repeat them for you. Jobs, vulnerability reduction, and both of them on a platform of good governance. And let me now finish with my third of the presentation. It has to do with how we do this. What are the new tools the bank proposes to use? What is different from what you did before? And let me take you back to that World Bank I knew when I came to the institution so many years ago, at that time the menu was very simple. There were two things: big reports, and I mean big, that took a year to produce, in English, so if you don't read English, your problem, and projects, cement, we will build things for you. That was the World Bank, and it was a very useful bank, because at that time, those were the instruments that the world was asking for. We were just speaking to the demand. This new World Bank has changed enormously. Globalization also came to the bank. The bank has adapted, not just in Africa, but as an institution over the last 10 years. And the new strategy for Africa is now creaming off, is profiting from these new tools that the bank created over the last 10 years. And which are those tools? And I'm going to mention them to you in the new order of importance. Okay? The first tool is partnerships. Can you imagine? I mean, the bank, instead of asking or saying the first thing is a loan, now we will say the first tool we want to use is partnerships. Before we touch it, we want to say who are the stakeholders here? Who are the potential beneficiaries? Who's going to lose with the World Bank intervention? What's the political economy reality behind this project or this problem? So the first instrument is partnerships, is Leadership Afrique. That's the reason why I'm here today. Okay? In the old bank, I wasn't even allowed to be here. And if I was here with 5 advisors that will tell me what to say. The new World Bank is totally open. There was one of your colleagues that spoke earlier said about something about information, the importance of information. Well, the world has not even noticed that about a year ago, the World Bank made all its information, by definition, by default, public. Every time I write an email, that email is public. There's no piece of data that I can receive from any government that is not public. Okay? We call it open access. No other institution in the world, not even our cousins in the IMF, have yet opened their data bank like we did. Not the UN, nobody. Why? Because the bank wants to do partnerships first. Okay? So first tool is partnerships. Let's leverage our efforts. Let's see whether working with the stakeholders we get more than working alone. The second tool, and look at the order, is knowledge. And by knowledge, here is a big difference. In the past, we had a giant capacity to generate knowledge. If you wanted to know how to build a school, the people that knew worked for the bank. If you wanted to build a bridge, the people that knew how to build bridges were in the bank. They had 25 years of experience building bridges. Normally, there were people that built bridges when they were little kids, were fanatic about bridges. There were professions housed inside the bank. Now, that has changed. Not because we lost the capacity. These people are still there, as fanatic about and as passionate about their profession as they were before. The difference now is that the emphasis is not in knowledge generation, but in knowledge exchange. The bank wants to be the clearing house of development knowledge. What is a clearing house? It's like the bank checks. It's a place where all the checks come and then the banks settle accounts. How much I owe you, how much you owe me. The same principle we want to apply to knowledge. If we see a good experience somewhere, whatever experience is, and whoever generated the experience, we want to tell the world about it. The new World Bank uses more Twitter than thick reports. Why? Because very quickly, if you find some information that may be useful to the development community, you tweet it out. Where is your information? You generated it or not? So that's the second tool now, knowledge, in the sense of knowledge exchanges, not just generation, although the bank still generates a lot of it. And finally, and only finally, is financial services. And notice that I don't say lending. I use a broader term, which is financial services. What do I mean by that? Look, I don't even say financing, I say financial services, which again is broader. What do I mean by that? Well, the bank now can give you a menu, not just for you to borrow, but for you to manage your whole balance sheet, your bilan comptable. For example, the bank now can sell you guarantees, so you can bring in private sector investors to build your infrastructure, and they can be comforted that the terms of the contract will be respected because there is a guarantee of the World Bank. The World Bank can now sell you insurance. We sell insurance. Can you imagine? I mean, I never thought we'll do that. But if you think one of your cities could be threatened by natural disasters, for example, in the Caribbean, when the hurricanes came, we can sell you an insurance against that. We can help you manage your assets. Remember, it's not just about liabilities, debt. Now we're talking about assets. We can help you do that. More than 40 countries in the world have asked the World Bank to help them manage their foreign exchange reserves or their sovereign wealth funds where they put their commodity revenue. We can help you do that, manage your assets. And then finally, and very importantly, and I had good discussions with the officials in charge of the program PNDL, the Programme National de Développement Local, ici au Senegal. I had good discussion with them because I visited these projects of theirs in Thiès. And what we do now is we can lend or we can give all of these financial services to subnational governments. Meaning we don't need to only help or deal directly with the central government, the federal government. We can now help the local governor or the local mayor or the superintendent. Okay? So again, the three instruments are very different because of the order: partnerships first, knowledge second, financial services third. Now, put it all together. I'm going to stop now because I'm about to abuse my 15 minutes. And what do you have? You have a big reality change around Africa as an entity, a new set of objectives for the bank, and a new set of instruments. What does it all adapt to? What's the answer, or what's the consequence? What's the result of all this for the bank? And the result, and this is perhaps the message I want you to take with you, apart from making the test, the reading test on your children tonight, please. But beyond that, the message I want you to leave you with is the new World Bank is a lot less influential than before. A lot less influential. But it's a lot more useful. The new World Bank in Africa will not be the big political player that people have images of. That bank is long gone. The new World Bank in Africa will be on the side of the Africans, or it will not exist. So thank you very much. I'll stop there. Thank you.